I would complain all the time that the guys ahead of me were getting more opportunity than I was. There was a certain amount of repetitions in practice. The starter would get 20, the backup would get 10, and I would get 2. And I'd go in and I'd say, well, how can I ever get better? All these guys get all the reps and I only get 2. And he said, just go in there and focus with the 2 that you got and make them as perfect as you possibly can. So I said, okay. So that's what I did. They'd put me in for those 2. Man, I'd sprint in there like it was Super Bowl 49. Let's go, boys. Here we go. What play we got? And I did really well with those 2 because I brought enthusiasm. I brought some energy, and I had a little more confidence in myself. And it went from 2 reps to getting 4 reps because those 2 were pretty good. Then I had 4 good reps. Then I got 10 good reps. And before you knew it, through this new attitude, through this new shift that Greg had said to me, focus on what you can control. Focus on what you're getting, not what anyone else is getting. Whenever you get an opportunity, you take advantage of it. You treat it like it's the Super Bowl. You treat it like it's game day. Go out there and treat practice like no one else does.
Correct!
Thank you, Tom Brady. That is definitely advice Shedeur Sanders needs to be using for his NFL career. With Kenny Pickett injuring his hamstring, Shedeur Sanders is now set to receive more practice reps. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Shedeur Sanders needing to take advantage of his chances in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders is currently facing an uphill battle to win the Browns starting quarterback job. However, if Shedeur Sanders does well with more practice reps, then he should be in good position to at least be a backup quarterback in the NFL for the current moment. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So here it is. Will Shedeur Sanders make the Browns roster? I believe so. I believe Shedeur Sanders will be a backup quarterback in the NFL for the current moment, especially if he does well in the preseason. Could you imagine the blowback the Browns would be receiving if they cut Shedeur Sanders from their roster? I mean, holy cow, it is going to be massive. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders has got to go out there on the football field and take advantage of more practice reps. He's got to be able to make the most out of his opportunities, especially with the fact that Shedeur Sanders was a 5th-round quarterback. Shedeur Sanders has been able to show that he can play football at a high level in mini camp, OTAs, and training camp so far. However, we are talking about practice. Like what the famous Allen Iverson once said, we're talking about practice. We're talking about practice. And Shedeur Sanders has certainly made the most out of his reps, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the preseason games. Shedeur Sanders has got to understand that with the Kenny Pickett injury, there's not really a lot of time to feel sorry for Kenny Pickett, which I believe Shedeur Sanders is feeling. I know Kenny Pickett injuring his hamstring absolutely sucks for the Browns organization. I know the Browns really wanted Kenny Pickett to be their week 1 starter. However, I think this is a blessing in disguise, mainly because I'm not a believer in Kenny Pickett. I don't believe Kenny Pickett is that good of a quarterback. In fact, I believe Kenny Pickett is a borderline 3rd-string quarterback at best. Kenny Pickett is not a good player. So for the Cleveland Browns to invest all those practice reps to Kenny Pickett, I thought that was a major waste of time for the other rookies in this draft class, because they also drafted another rookie quarterback in Dillon Gabriel. Matter of fact, Dillon Gabriel was drafted 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur Sanders. So guess what? Shedeur Sanders was initially listed as the 4th-string QB. Now he's going to have to be elevated to 3rd string, which means what? Shedeur Sanders is still not going to get a lot of practice reps. But hey, like Tom Brady said in the introduction, make the most out of your 2 reps, because your 2 reps are going to become into 4 reps. And then if you do good with those 4 reps, it's going to become 10 reps. And then it's going to be even more and more the more you can handle yourself. Shedeur Sanders has got to take advantage of the opportunity and say, yeah, I feel sorry that you're injured, Kenny, but I got to go ahead and take this quarterback job from you. I have to be able to make the most out of my opportunities, and Shedeur Sanders has got to take advantage of his chances. That's why I say Shedeur Sanders needs to absolutely ball out right away. There needs to be a sense of urgency for Shedeur Sanders to succeed right away. If he doesn't succeed right away, then he might not even make the Browns roster. And if he doesn't make the Browns roster, who knows what his NFL future looks like in the National Football League. Shedeur Sanders is under high pressure to succeed this preseason, and if he doesn't succeed, he's going to get cut. I also want to show you guys this clip of Colin Cowherd talking about how the Cleveland Browns may have lucked their way into success. It's a very short clip, but a very necessary clip to show you guys. Obviously, Colin Cowherd has been a flip-flopper on his takes on Shedeur Sanders, but I found this quick comment from Colin Cowherd rather interesting. Roll the film.
Sometimes you stumble into success. It's not a straight line. It's not linear. Brady with the Patriots, Brock Purdy to the Niners, Kurt Warner to the Rams. It's not always a straight line.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man? Bro, I'm out, man. That nigga's tripping.
Cleveland Browns and success, that goes hand in hand. Really? They don't sound like they go together. But in all seriousness, though, the Cleveland Browns got themselves Shedeur Sanders on the roster. And who knows, maybe one of these quarterbacks will end up turning around the Browns. I highly doubt it. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't necessarily rule it out. But the difference with Shedeur Sanders and the other quarterbacks will have to be his mentality. Shedeur Sanders doesn't have the veteran presence of Joe Flacco. He doesn't have the elite anticipation Dillon Gabriel has as well. Even though Shedeur Sanders has more talent than Dillon Gabriel was drafted 2 rounds ahead of Shedeur Sanders, which means the coaching staff is more than likely going to give Dillon Gabriel his first opportunity to be successful at the NFL level. Shedeur Sanders has just got to be ready to take advantage of all opportunities provided to him. This is an opportunity provided for Shedeur Sanders. With Kenny Pickett injuring his hamstring, it seems like he's going to be out for at least a week, which means Shedeur Sanders needs to make the most out of his practice reps. Now, I know some people in the media are going to say, oh, how come Shedeur Sanders isn't taking first team reps? But he's not next in line. There's still Joe Flacco and Dillon Gabriel in the picture. I'm not saying I believe Dillon Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders. I certainly don't. But Shedeur Sanders is going to have to be twice as good to prove that he's better than Dillon Gabriel in order to beat out Dillon Gabriel for the backup quarterback spot. As far as whether or not Shedeur Sanders will show up in the preseason, I believe Shedeur Sanders will do that. He is a talented player. He is going to be going up against 4th-string players. He is probably also going to see 3rd-string players on the field as well, which means what? Shedeur Sanders is not going to have to feel a great pass rush. Shedeur Sanders' greatest weakness is getting rid of the ball on time, but in the preseason, the pass rush is essentially non-existent, which means Shedeur Sanders will have plenty of time to throw the football and go through his reads, and Shedeur Sanders is capable of doing that. Shedeur Sanders is capable of making his receivers better, which means what? Shedeur Sanders is going to look good in the preseason, and when Shedeur Sanders looks good in the preseason, the Browns are going to essentially have no choice but to keep Shedeur Sanders on the roster. I believe Kenny Pickett is probably going to end up getting traded from the Browns at the end of preseason. I just don't see a future for Kenny Pickett on the Browns, especially with him getting injured in training camp. Shedeur Sanders is going to play well in training camp, mainly because he's got to stay locked in, and he is talented enough to the point where he could look good in practice. Shedeur Sanders is just going to have to be an absolute baller, but you know what? We have seen Shedeur Sanders be a baller at the college level. We have seen Shedeur Sanders play well in training camp, so he's going to have to translate those practice reps into playing well in the preseason. If he can do that, then the job is going to be his in terms of the backup quarterback position. I'm still sticking with my prediction of Joe Flacco being the Browns starter. Obviously, Joe Flacco is the veteran presence in the quarterback room. I highly doubt the Browns are going to not start Joe Flacco in week 1. If they don't start Joe Flacco in week 1, then they're bigger idiots than what I gave them credit for, which is saying something. Shedeur Sanders is going to play well in the preseason. He's going to play well with more practice reps, which means he's going to take advantage of his opportunities to play high quality football in the National Football League. So that is why Shedeur Sanders will make the Browns roster, as Shedeur Sanders will indeed take advantage of his increased practice reps. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That will be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter @DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.